Aloha, this is some old guy in Hawaii, and this is an update of a Moe's build using no legendary gear at all. The original Legoless Bear could handle any content in the game, including true takedowns, but was created prior to the introduction of Mayhem 11, the 4 skill tree, and several new anointments. This update, which takes advantage of all of those, is even better. The save file is also provided for those who requested it. I'm not going to go too in-depth on the skill tree. Here's the old one. Here's a new one. I'll let you dig into it and judge for yourself if you want to move points around. Okay. Both old and new builds, however, play the same way. These are pure Iron Bear builds because no purple weapon performs well enough at M10, M11 levels against the hardest content. Maybe the Dakota, but that's about it. We depend on good damage, which is a given with Iron Bear, plus Auto Bear, the Daka Bear turret, and really good cooldown management. The only time you get out of either the mech or the turret is to get into the other or when all the enemies are dead. Tank Girl comp, preferably with a cooldown passive, is best. Let Me Break Shield from DLC 4 maximizes Iron Bear armor. Any grenade will do, we don't use them anyway. Any anointment on the shield or grenade will do, although increased cooldown from Auto Bear kills can't hurt. A Last Stand artifact provides insurance anytime we find ourselves outside of the mech in combat. Again, cooldown passives are nice. This setup also depends heavily on the Guardian rank perk topped off. It only costs 50 points to get there, and we must get it. So see my earlier videos or my video on cooldown if you want more detail on the why and how of that. Okay. Combat cycle works like this. We fight within Iron Bear until fuel is around half to 3/4 gone, or if our armor is getting low for some reason. Punch out and immediately get into the Daka Bear turret. You can use the turret gun to assist an Auto Bear in killing, but we're mainly there to stay invulnerable with a full shield, which procs topped off, while Auto Bear does the work. In most mobbing situations, Auto Bear will kill enough enemies to proc Grizzled, advance cooldown, and get us back into Iron Bear when Auto Bear expires. If it doesn't, it's probably because all the enemies are dead. Now, bosses with few ads can be tricky but manageable, meaning manage the few ads and punch out a little earlier. I'll talk about some special cases in a bit. There's a certain amount of fuel and armor monitoring that needs to take place, mainly fuel, to run this build successfully. We need to get a feel for how much remaining fuel, which is refunded as cooldown, is needed to get us back in Iron Bear as soon as Auto Bear's 15 seconds are up, depending upon how many kills Auto Bear gets. Because we really don't want to find ourselves without Auto Bear and cooldown remaining for more than a few seconds. But once we get used to it, once we understand how that works and get a feel for it, it becomes second nature. And the build is a lot of fun. I recommend a couple of sessions in Slaughter Shaft to get used to that combat cycle, to get a feel for when you should punch out. Okay. The difference between the old and new builds is Iron Bear Endurance. Ignoring Bear Cub, which we don't use, the purple tree adds damage, armor regen, fuel regen, and additional cooldown. The number of times we have to go from Iron Bear to the turret and then back goes down, often drastically in any given run. Our first successful attempt at Maliwan True Guardian takedown with the old setup took between 20 and 25 minutes. Given more experience of running MTD, around 20 minutes is about average. The new build can do it in less than half that. I did a speed run, not bothering to check drops, in just under 7.5 minutes. That's the footage that's been running in the background. Okay. True Guardian takedown performance, not necessarily much faster, but that contact takes more concentration and time anyway. It's still, however, much easier with the newer setup. Now, part of the improved performance, to be fair, is access to these new anointments. These plus 100% damage to specific Iron Bear weapons while Iron Bear is active. Okay. These effectively double our damage while in the bear. Okay. The original build used the high crit bonus of this love drill to increase crit damage while in the Daka turret. Shredding that for any weapon with an anointment matching our equipped Iron Bear weapons makes that more than makes up for that purple crit. Okay, so if we want to play the original build, make this change and go at it. But why we want to do that, the purple tree makes life so much easier and more fun. Use the new build with whatever Iron Bear weapons you prefer, and just make sure you're holding a gun with the appropriate while Iron Bear is active anointment. As for which Iron Bear weapons are best, it depends on the enemy's and personal preference. Railgun with shock and corrosion is my go-to, especially versus both takedowns given the preponderance of armor and shielding. But rocket pods and miniguns can be just as effective. Now, I should also point out that all the runs I've mentioned thus far were on Mayhem 10. These are the typical modifiers used. I'm a huge fan of Speed Demon, as it makes getting around a lot of fun, especially in the mech, although it can get us into trouble as in literally running off a cliff if we're not careful. I've also favored Holy Crit because I like critting, but it does take longer to kill some tough to crit bosses like Wotan. Lately, however, I've switched to Roguelite. We avoid the penalties of not critting with Holy Crit or any of the other extra hard modifiers. As for dying, we rarely go down with this build if properly played. And if we do, it's usually in situations where a second win is out of the question anyway. More specifically, if you haven't looked at the earlier videos, the trickiest content for this build are the Guardian Takedown boss immune phases. Okay? With Anathema, unless we lure him to one corner of the platform and run to the other, a tactic some use, his immune phases require us to get clear of that central platform before his expanding energy sphere explodes. Okay? In or out of the mech, we just head for the jump pad. If we're in the Black Bear turret, when the immunity hits, however, we first have to exit the turret, something that I had to learn to do because I kept pressing the control pad to have to get out of the mech instead. If we mine Anathema's health bar, however, and get out of the turret shortly before or immediately upon the onset of the phase, we do fine. Head for a jump pad, get to an upper platform, wait for the central explosion, jump back. Okay. Scourge has similar immune phases, although these only require us to seek cover behind a column he hasn't destroyed, or kill one of the diadems that spawn when they are close to him. When we deplete each of his 2 armor bars for the first time, however, he goes immune for a few seconds and teleports us to an outer arena. If we are in the mech when this happens, we are ejected from Iron Bear. And this ejection is just like getting kicked out early if Iron Bear's armor is depleted. We do not get credited unused fuel as we do cooldown, meaning we have to run around for a full cooldown period without the benefit of auto bear proccing Grizzle. Okay, not a good thing. The best strategy is to eject shortly before we think the phase will start and get in the turret. Even if Scourge is not in our face, auto bear should do enough damage to him to trigger that phase. We can help by targeting Scourge with the turret. Okay, so what have I forgotten? We got here discussing how all of this was done on Mayhem 10. If we want to do Mayhem 11, if we don't care about Speed Demon and or want a slightly easier experience because Mayhem 11 is easier than Mayhem 10, we can do that. I have tested this out on M11, moving points from Big Surplus or Biofuel to double time. It's only max 12% increase in movement speed, so it's not Speed Demon, but it does help. Or you could just basically not leave it as it is and just trundle around in Iron Bear at the regular speed. And that's it. Learn the combat cycle, watch the fuel and armor, punch out when you should and get in the turret, and you should have a lot of fun. Okay, there's a Google Docs save file linked in the description. None of the first 4 DLCs have been completed on that character, so that's for you to do. It also includes some legendary gear, namely Raging Bear and Bear Trooper comms, because with those we last even longer in the mech. It's just no longer Legoless Bear because, legendaries. Anyway, enjoy, and thanks for watching.